Hi everybody. Today we're going to do a little bit of mat where we might need a little prop, be it a ball. If you've got a soft ball, fantastic. My ball has got a little bit of give in it, so if you've got a football, just a really cheap football that's got a little bit of give in it, fantastic. Or if you haven't got something like this, you could have a cushion, or I've taken a towel, a bath towel, and rolled it up so that it looks pretty, I'd say, tight, and creating sort of the same height as my ball. You could always put a couple of towels together if you want it to be a bigger roll than that. So we're just going to begin down onto the mat, and we're going to come down however works best for you, so just carefully come to the mat. And I want you just to look at the box position for a second. So when we come into the box, you're going to really think about your wrists. Now, I want you to imagine that if your hands were positioned like so, that you could almost pull that lower arm, the forearm, back, and then as you come up, it's pulling back and up. So I'm trying not to compress down, I'm thinking much more about almost a sense of back and lift up. Now I also want you to focus much more onto this sort of 2/3 of your hand. I'm not saying be completely onto the little pinky fingers, but just try not to weight bear quite so much in between first finger and thumb. Okay, so that will really help if you've got wrist issues. So remember, we're pulling back, we're lifting up and out of the wrist. I've spread the fingers wide and my knees are underneath each of my hip sockets. Now from there we're going to do the cat-cow, the Blackpool donkey, the scared cat. So I want you to start to think about 2 circles. And the circle down by my pelvis is going this way. Okay, so it's like a wheel. So we talked about this in the last video. It's like a wheel almost that is going backwards. Okay, now let's just play about with that, thinking that if we allow our pelvis to tip backwards, we lead with the tail, the sacrum, and we're thinking about that wheel going backwards. And then you can bring it back to your neutral spine. Now we're going to add the upper body, but the upper body's wheel is going forwards. So it's going in opposition, okay? So I want you to add the 2 together. So we initiate with the sacrum sliding down away from us, and then the upper body is reaching, and think about its circle, its wheel going in one direction, and the other circle or wheel going in the opposite direction. And then when we move into the opposite spinal position, it's exactly the opposite. So think about those wheels. They both are working at the same time. And I want you to think when you come into your cat stretch, that it's less about the front of the body pulling in and more about the back of the body lengthening. So really feel that weight in your head. And then as we go the other way, it's more about your upper middle back, shortening the front of the body, lengthening. And we'll just do one more. Really feel, visualize those wheels, and then pushing away, 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 and bring it back to neutral. So I just want you to remember those concepts of the wheel. Tuck the toes under, an upside down V, and push right back into your heels. Now if you need a little bent knee because your hamstrings are tight, that's absolutely fine. I'm well off the wrists with the weight, and I'm just going to release one heel
And then release the other. So it's a little bit of sort of running in place, walking in place, however you recognize it. Really let that head hang. Lift up to push down. Lift up to push down. Now I really want you to think about your seat bone on the stretching side. So my seat bone on this side is reaching right up to the ceiling, trying to think about my pelvis moving in a forward direction. So it's as though the wheel is going forwards right now. And then we switch. Again, think about the wheel going forwards and switch. So it's the same concept if you were in the Blackpool donkey, the opposite to your cat stretch. So that is the concept of the spine right now. And then you're going to pause with them both and quietly bring it all the way back down. Give your wrists just a little bit of a moment. And we're going to now come back down into our box positions. Remember, I'm going to pull that forearm out of the wrist and hold in a lovely neutral spine. So you're going to begin by pushing your big toe on the left back. Nothing changes that. There are no wheels moving as we bring the middle finger forwards and float arm and leg. So now we're looking for total stability. And then we're going to slowly bring them both back down one at a time. So no wheels moving either direction. Big toe first, middle finger on the opposite, and everything is stable as we bring it up. So this might be where you stay, just working at this level, but if you can, now remember where the weight is on your hands, it's not first finger thumb, middle finger big toe pause, no wheels moving, so your pelvis is not tipping forwards, you're not going into the Blackpool donkey, holding it here, we're going to circle the back leg. So we circle and circle, and we're looking for total stability all the time. Circle and circle. Now we reverse and go the other way. And circle, very stable, through that wrist, circle and circle. We'll just do a couple more, and pause. And then slowly let it come all the way down. If you need at all little breaks in your wrists, please take them. So now we'll do the other side, pushing middle finger, big toe away, and float them both and pause. Now think about your pelvis. No cat stretch, no Blackpool donkey. Relax your shoulders. If you would prefer, because it's easier for a shoulder to be out here, then please take the arm out. And we're going to circle again. Almost a little emphasis on an internal rotation of the pelvis, of your thigh bone to stop the pelvis from rotating. And pause, and we go the other way. So I want you to imagine that there's a tea set on your back. And that tea set has cups of tea, absolutely full. Keep thinking about the strength in your arm. And last one, pause, and then slowly let them both come down. Give your wrists a little break for a moment. You might want to circle them one way, circle them the other way. I know it's hard for some of you with wrists, but it is really important that we are weight bearing through them. So even if you just do momentary seconds, thinking about those little strengthening exercises, positioning really important. So from here we're going to do a little thread the needle, or a version of. You're going to find that neutral position again. I'm just going to slowly bring one arm up out to the side and open out as far as I can manage, all the way back, and the same on the other side. Arm comes out. You're looking for a middle back rotation here. Now something I find really helpful is to take out one leg out to the side. So I try and keep the big toe pretty much level with the knee. And if I then take the opposite arm out, it's a lovely leveler, a stabilizer
for that pelvis. We take the foot out and slowly bring it out to the side. Lovely length in your spine. So you might find as you do this that you've got one side that maybe feels a little more blocked than the other. And again, you could do a couple on the side, and back, and up, and down. And then we'll just do 3 on the other side so that we're nice and even. So remember, our pelvis is not cat stretching, it's not Blackpool donkeying, it's absolutely even. Now imagine you're almost pushing that floor away, feeling that middle back rotation. And we'll just do one more, really open and all the way back down. So a little break on the wrists now. So I'm going to use the ball. You might like a cushion, or you could use that rolled up towel, and you could very easily put that in between your knees if you would prefer. Or if you have a cushion or something that you feel is quite appropriate to put in between your knees, then please use it. So we're going to come all the way down, and I want you to position the ball a little bit beneath your, or your prop, whatever your prop is, a little bit beneath your knees. The arms are down by your sides, the feet are that little bit closer towards your bottom. And all I want you to simply do is squeeze your prop. Release a little, squeeze, release a little, squeeze. Now again, we're thinking about stability of the pelvis while we're doing this. It's a squeeze and a release. So your pelvis is not going into flat back every time that you squeeze. So this is not Blackpool donkey or a cat stretch again. Remember, we're continuously squeeze, tiny release, squeeze, tiny release. You're also not letting your back arch every time. Squeeze, release. Think about squeezing from up into that top of the thigh, not your knees as such. Squeeze, release. And while you're doing this, I want you to really focus on your feet. Now hopefully your feet aren't releasing to the outside edges and then to the big toes. You're keeping them beautifully stable. Just visualize your thigh bones. I'm still squeezing and releasing, so don't stop if you can help it. Keep breathing long and lengthened. Squeeze, release, squeeze and release. One more, hold it here. Doesn't have to be really hard. Arms come back down by your sides. And you're simply from there going to lift straight up and bring it back down. Now, can you remember the cat stretch? And as you did the cat stretch, your pelvis was going into that almost backward wheel. So I want you to think as you lift about the backward nature of the wheel. In other words, it's going in reverse. Lift and lower. And that very nature of the wheel moving in reverse is going to keep length in that low back. Now I'm still squeezing with my inner thighs. So even if you were to hold the bottom, you should feel that they evenly are contracted. We lift and we lower, and we lift and we lower. Now on this next one, we're going to hold it up here in this bridge position. Now keep thinking about that length in your low back. If it's a better visualization for you, think about those little seat bone lights, and they're going to flick up into full beam. And we're going to do little squeezes here. We squeeze, squeeze, squeeze that ball. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Or whatever your prop is, you are squeezing it. Squeeze, 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 squeeze. We'll do 5 and 4 and 3 and 2 and 1. Now you could articulate down, all the way down, 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 and find yourself back to neutral. Now a little option here, just to mix things up a little bit, is to come off your heels. So you might have to bring those feet a little bit closer.
So I'm on the toes, I'm going to squeeze the ball so I'm not into the outside edges of the feet. And again, I'm going to lift all the way up, and as I'm coming midway up to the full, I'm thinking about really taking my pelvis almost more into that backward pelvic tilt wheel action, reverse wheel action. Now squeeze that ball again, and we're going to lower with a lifted heel, squeeze up with a lifted heel, lower, squeeze up, lower, squeeze up. Now keep those ribs beautifully soft, squeeze up, lower, keep squeezing, lower and squeeze. So nothing's happening in your upper body, it's just nicely stable. Every time that you come down, your ribs don't stick out, there are no blocks or towels under your head, and this time we're going to hold it up here. I still have my heels lifted, I've located between big toe, second toe, and we're going to do little pulses. Pulse 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And again, think about that backward wheel. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pause. Last one. 10, 9, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pause. Lay the bones all the way down, 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 down. Heels can come down. Lift the legs up. Pop that ball to one side. And we're just going to hug the knees in. So this time your wheel is going again in that direction of sending your sacrum away from you, to encourage the pelvis to be very much part of our movements. Now you can circle your thigh bones a little, just to relax that pelvis. If it feels better for you to lift your head, neck and chest up, then you can. And make sure that you go both ways. So now we're going to go into a little bit of rolling like a ball. So I'm going to lift up my legs, pop my hands underneath the knees, and again think about the wheel going in the other direction. So this is no different to the cat stretch at the beginning. So we've got the wheel going backwards through the lower part of the body, and now the wheel going forwards through the upper part of the body. So the back of the body really is stretching. Now I'm going to start to rock. Keep thinking about those two circles and eventually come all the way up to the upright. So it's the same concept when we go into rolling like a ball. The upper body is doing that forward movement. It's not just your chin clamped to your chest, and your lower body is going in the other direction. So I want you to think cat stretch all the time. But don't overdo it. It's not a, ooh, can I completely make myself tense and I feel it in the shoulders. Very, very subtle. So from here, we come on to the toes. Make sure there's nothing behind you. You're nice and safe on the mat. And again, I'm going to go into that backward pelvic tilt as though I were curling my tail underneath me. The upper body goes into its flexion. So you're thinking about that upper circle. Now from there, I'm going to walk each of my toes back. Heels are still lifted. Keep thinking about those circles going in opposition, and you with ease lift those toes up. Now nothing changes. You have to keep the flexion throughout the whole spine. And we're going to inhale as we roll back, preferably not onto your head. Inhale and exhale. So if you're inhaling with good capacity and you're in this lovely lengthened spine, it is rather like a massage. So you don't want to be losing that flexion at all. And back. And remember, with rolling like a ball, sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not quite so good. Just bear with yourself and try and think about the concepts and the breath and where you might be tight. And just finishing that one. Now we're going to push out to a long leg. You might want to use your towel just propped up underneath your seat bones.
we're going to do a little spine stretch forwards. So from here I've taken the feet so that they're mat width apart. I'm going to pull the skin from beneath each of my seat bones to really enable me to sit up. So I want you to think about that seat bone lengthening back, just as you did when you did the upside down V position. And in the upside down V position, you were almost thinking about tipping your pelvis forwards, okay? And that, almost the little tip of the pelvis forwards, if the circle of the pelvis was going into the same position as the Blackpool donkey, that will lengthen your hamstrings. It will really pull on your hamstrings. And if you need to, a little lift of the knees is absolutely fine. But also it's going to take pressure off your low back. So you don't want to be sitting back like this. It is not cat stretch. Right up on those seat bones, pull the skin out and imagine that your wheel in your pelvis is now going forwards. So we're going to sit as best we can. Breathe. If you do nothing else, even just working on sitting in this position is fabulous. And you're going to bring your arms up and they're sitting at about shoulder height. Imagine that your arms are resting on a glass table. And I'm going to let the eyes just drop down a little. I'm thinking length in my spine. So from here we're going to slowly start to allow a suction cup on the crown of the head to quite literally pull the spine forwards. I'm continuously visualizing that I can almost rock forwards on my seat bones. So I'm rocking forwards on my seat bones. My tail remains really long and lengthened. And I'm going to slowly just restack the low back, middle back, upper back and eyes. I'm not tipping the pelvis forwards too much. I'm not tipping it backwards too much. Let's try again. Just drop the eyes a little and quite literally imagine that the crown of the head starts to bring you forwards. I can feel the weight starts to shift more towards the front edge of my seat bones. And I'm not thinking about moving my pelvis around as such, I'm just lengthening the spine. There's a flexion in both of the ankles. And slowly restack upon the center of your seat bones, the low back, the middle back, the upper back and the eyes. So feel that your seat bones dig right down into the floor. And again, very subtly, just dropping the eyes, the gaze down a touch. And imagine that the fingertips had gold threads on them. The shoulders don't lift. They're just drawn forwards because the very nature of the head being pulled forwards, the very nature of feeling the weight shift towards the front edge of those seat bones. Now you might have had enough, but if you can, keeping the flexed ankles, you're going to lift your eyes up a little. And I'm going to push my breastbone forwards as though I was going to go into the Blackpool donkey. So I'm thinking about my pelvis almost rolling forwards a little, but now my upper circle, my upper wheel is going back a little. So think rather like the Blackpool donkey. Now if you can, that might be enough for you, but if you can, you bring your arms up. So we're looking for pretty much a straight line from the tail to the crown of the head in a hinge position. And I'm simply going to pulse that upper arm bone back and back and back and back. We'll just do 3 more and 2 more and 1 more. We're going to lengthen forwards. It's not a collapse forwards. And just restack low back, middle back, upper back and eyes. Now we're going to go straight into rotation from here. So it might be that you're more comfortable sitting on that towel or sitting on a seat, sitting on a chair. Remember those seat bones are pulled out. And we're going to take the arms out to the side. And you're simply going to start to rotate to one side and back through center. Rotate to the other side and back through center. Now, if you had a ball or you had a roller, you can put that ball or your roller on top of your head. So you would hold the ends of your roller or the ball, and as I gently apply a downward force into the head, I'm going to imagine applying an upward force through the prop on top of your head. And with that, we continue the rotations. Now keep thinking about what is happening through your seat bones. So you need to keep supporting your spine with this lovely lengthening sensation through your whole spine. The spine needs to work through the pelvis, not against it. So it's there to support. Try and make sure that you can feel the same left to right through the pelvis, regardless of the rotation. Now, if your hips are bothering you, come into a little diamond position, or remember you can do this sitting on a chair, middle back rotation, and we'll just do one more middle back rotation all the way down with your prop. Maybe you didn't use one, and just take a little moment stretching it forwards. Now we're going to open up the hip, because we were sitting, that's quite hard for the hip. And we're going to do a little bit of prone work on our tummies. So come down onto your stomach, carefully, obviously, and I just want you to think about feeling that you're well organized before we begin. So you might just move a little from left to right. The pelvis is not a static feature in any back extension. So we're going to begin with our hands onto the mat, like so. Now, if this is really challenging for you, can you keep your arms by your sides and just work on that very subtle little dart position? So this is your option if you are really troubled by shoulders, or it's just really hard for you to have your arms like this. Maybe you don't want to weight bear through your wrists anymore. There's always the option of the dart. But if you can, then the fingernails will be level with approximately your shoulders. My sacrum is pretty much level, and as I push the sacrum away from me, my pubic bone gets a little more weighted. So from here, I want you to think about allowing the back of the head just to lift up a touch. Now think about the Blackpool donkey and the cat stretch of earlier. So we've got a circle now on the upper body going this way. But you also have an action going on through your pelvis. If you block your pelvis and stop your pelvis, then it's never going to enable the action to happen. So we won't overthink it initially. I just want you to think about the shortening of your middle upper back and then bring it back down again. Now from there, let your head come up a little. You're going to visualize your elbows. They are pushing right back as though they're pushing down towards your feet. Imagine that you had two little newspapers or a clutch bag under each armpit, and you're going to slowly apply a little more pressure into your palms and bring yourself all the way up. Now bend those elbows, don't forget about the clutch or the newspaper under your armpits, and bring it all the way back down. So again, lifting the head, neck and chest.
You're going to think about reaching those elbows towards your feet. Remember the clutch bag under each armpit. The rib cage goes forwards and straighten those arms up. And slowly lay the bones all the way back down. And again, try again. The back of the head comes up, the elbows reach towards your feet. The collarbones are open, the eyes need to move forwards a little. Remember the clutch bags? There's a little downward force, but a forward force with your rib cage. Lifting, lifting, lifting. It's a lovely hip opener. And let it come all the way back down. So from there, we're going to take the ball and you're just going to think about adding a little bit more excitement to this by taking the ball, holding it, or whatever your prop is. You might find that you've just got a little towel and you're holding the towel and you're pulling it apart a little. It might be a tea towel even. Or you're holding a small cushion or something in between your arms. Now again, think length through the front of the hip. And all I want you to quite literally do is just take the fronts of your shoulders, open them out and back, and stretch everything out. And then let everything come back down. Now remember, you can do this without a prop, without a ball, without a cushion. 2 more. Inhale, wide and full. The head, neck and chest comes up a little. Your eyes can go forwards just ever so slightly. And we open the front of that chest. Remember, there's weight through your pubic bone. The sacrum is long and lengthened. Let it come all the way down again. We've got 1 more. Wide full inhale, and as you exhale, head, neck and chest comes up a little. Eyes will go forwards just a touch. Pull the fronts of the shoulders back and down, and shortening that middle upper back. Now if all feels well, I'm just going to lift the ball a touch just to create a bit of space between the bottom and the ball. And we're going to lengthen the legs away, and we're going to move into a little flutter kick. So we kick, 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 kick. Now I'm trying to keep the upper body as still as possible. We've got wonderful hip extension going on here. Pubic bone is weighted. Don't forget about those shoulders opening up. Kick, 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 kick. Pubic bone is heavy. Sacrum is long and lengthened. And remember that circle at the front of the body, bringing you into that shortened position. Pause and lower everything down. Pop the ball or your prop, if you were using one, a little away from you. Slowly and carefully push yourself up, and whatever feels good to you, come into a little release, rest position. Now that might be taking your hands to one side, lift up and over, taking a little stretch. Breathe, always breathing into the back and the base of the lungs, or right up to the top of the shoulders with the breath. And bringing it around to the other side, again coming up to come over. Thinking again about the cat stretch, how you'd have the circle in the hips and the circle in the upper body going in the opposite direction. So just think about that concept as we do 1 more each side. So we've got a backward circle going on, or a backward reverse wheel movement. That's through the lower part of the body, but a forward wheel movement going on through the upper part of the body. Make it your own, don't hold tension in your neck. And then slowly bring it forwards and restack low back, middle back, upper back and eyes. So from here, we're going to use our ball or our towel. I'm just going to demonstrate it on the towel first of all, just to show you that it really does provide a lovely sense of relief for the back. So if you had a roller, please feel free to use your roller for this. You position it around about the base of the shoulder blades, there or thereabouts. Clasp the hands behind your middle skull. Obviously, if you have some sort of bowl, that's fabulous as well. Or we've got our rolled up towel. So we've got all sorts of options here. Now our pelvis is as stable as possible. And as we come back, we're going to try not to let our back, our spine, go into the Blackpool donkey position. But we're going to think about length, and then we're going to wrap up and around the contour of your prop. A little bit of length at the back of the neck, and pick your head, neck and chest back up. Now if you have something like a towel, remember if you feel, oh, I want to go a little further, you could add a second towel to this. A little bit of length at the back of the neck, bringing the head, neck and chest back up. So it's level first. You're not going to let that low back just spring into a big curve. It's not a big Blackpool donkey, this. I want you to focus on the upper part of your extension. So I'm just going to switch to the ball just because I have one, and that extension on something higher is just so delicious. And we're going to repeat again. So we lengthen and we start to wrap around the ball. A little bit of length at the back of the neck, and pick the head, neck and chest up. Now every time I pick the head, neck and chest up, I'm not going into a cat stretch with the spine. We're looking for stability. So we wrap, and then we lift, 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 lift. We create length, and wrap, and then slowly lift, 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 lift. Now, once you've established this, and remember your roller is really good for this, as well as your soft ball or your rolled up towels, we're going to add a little bit to it. So I want you to now think, coming back, lengthen, 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 lengthen. You're going to slowly pick your head, neck and chest up, and we go into a little rotation. Pass through level, wrap up and over the ball or your prop, coming up and into a little rotation. So we can make this a little more challenging if you wish. So I'm going to bring my opposite leg up, and then as I go down, the leg comes back down. Then when we go to the other side, we pick the opposite leg up. Now, just because we pick the leg up isn't an excuse to flatten out the back and go into a cat stretch, putting your tail in between your legs. You want to stay as level and stable through the pelvis as possible. So the foot will come down as we extend. So we come up and over, and back down, up and over, and back down. We'll just do a couple more, up and over, and back down, up and over, and back down. Slowly from there, lift your head, neck and chest all the way back up. Take your hands, lift yourself up. You could take your prop, be it towel, be it whatever, take a little moment. And we're just going to do one last abdominal exercise. Maybe you've had enough, but if you can, we're just going to very gently place that ball, place your prop, be it a cushion, be it your roller, be it something just above your sacrum or thereabouts. Now simply from there, we're going to think about abdominals from here. It may be that you keep your hands in front, and all you're going to do is just a tiny lift and back, a tiny lift and back. Now I'm trying to keep my pelvis as stable as possible, tiny lift and back, stable pelvis and back, tiny lift and back. Every time I come back, I'm not there to lean on the ball. If you wanted to make it more challenging, hands behind the head, tiny lift and back, tiny lift and back, tiny lift and back, two more and back. Now make sure that your pelvis is staying really stable.
and bringing it forwards, and take a little moment. Now I'm going to take the ball and I'm going to pop it in between my ankles. And I'm going to slowly from there, you don't need to use a ball, you don't need to use your towel, you don't need to use anything, but a cushion might be quite nice. You're going to bring it all the way down, head comes down. So this is a little assisted roll up. Now lift your head, neck and chest up. Think about the circle, the wheel that's going on to enable that. And as you bring your legs down, you pop yourself onto your seat bones. So again, we come down, 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 down. And then lift that head, neck and chest. Start to take your feet down and lift. If you can, full roll up. Squeezing those legs together, pull the skin out from beneath your seat bones so you can sit super tall. Squeezing the ball, remember you don't need to use the ball if you don't want to. And we bring it all the way back. Arms come up, lift your head, neck and chest, all the way up, 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 with a gentle stretch forwards. And again, all the way down, 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 and back. So we're just mobilizing all the way up, 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 and a gentle stretch forwards. And we'll just do a couple more, all the way down, and back, up, head, neck and chest. Now think about the wheel that's going on in that upper body, all the way up. And remember that your pelvis is very much an integrated part of this. So as that wheel happens in the upper body, you want to think about your lower body, allowing the pelvis to stretch away from you. So think cat stretch almost when you're coming into the roll up. So the pelvis is going one way and the upper body is going the other way, just as you would with a cat stretch. This is our last one. Bringing it up. Lift the head, neck and chest, all the way to reach forwards and restack low back, middle back, upper back, eyes. Pop that ball away, spin your legs around, and just as we did at the beginning from the box, you're going to hover an upside down V. As you push your heels down, can you spike your seat bones right up towards the ceiling? And you'll release one. So I'm really pushing the seat bone on currently what is my left leg up towards the ceiling, and switch. Push the heel down and switch. Push and switch. Push. Hold that stretch for a moment. Now push them both down. Now I'm going to continuously, as I walk my feet forwards, imagine the circle that is going backwards almost, that encourages my tail to pull down towards the floor and my seat bones up towards the ceiling. Now holding it here, you're going to slowly think about a wheel action, almost bringing you up and up and up and up. And then just allow your arms to come up. One can come down, a lateral flexion to the side, opposite seat bone pushes away from you, all the way back up. Other arm comes up, lateral flexion, allowing the rib cage to pull apart, opposite seat bone pushing down, and all the way back. We'll just do one more, up to come over. So if I'm going across to the right, my left ribs part, my left seat bone pushes right down towards the floor and all the way back. And last one, coming up to come over. Really feel the influence of the seat bone on the right as you come across to the left. And all the way down, and then both arms, push the palms away, all the way down, and just circle your shoulders back and back and back. Very well done. Please do send any comments, any questions, any requests, and I'll see you very soon. Thank you.